The Credible Nerds presents More Than Meets the Eye, a Transformers podcast.
Autobots, transform!
Welcome everyone to the Credible Nerds podcast. My name is Justin, and we are here to talk Transformers Rise of the Beasts. And we got my special co-host, my Transformers expert, all the way from Japan. We got Kimball joining us this time. He's back to talk Transformers. How you doing, Kimball?
Doing really good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Good to see you again. It's been a few weeks, a couple months since we talked last, I think. Yeah. But we recently went and saw Rise of the Beast in theaters. We've been talking about this movie, texting back and forth since it was announced, a couple of years ago, if not longer, right? I remember we were all excited about it, and we love the Transformers movies, so we were wondering, is this going to be a sequel, a prequel? What's going on? What's it going to be about? So, and then we've been watching the trailers as they come out, the kind of the pictures that are released. But as far as all this pre-hype before we saw the movie, Kimball, what were you thinking? What were you wanting to see with this new Transformers? Where was your mind at through all that process?
I was just wanting to see more Transformers, just because the previous movie, Bumblebee, they had a few of them, but it mainly focused on Bumblebee himself. But I wanted to see more Transformers, and this movie delivered, and it gave us that. Yeah.
So you're wanting to expand the Transformers world in the cinematic world?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think we got that, right? We got the Maximals and even some more Autobots that we hadn't really seen before. So I think, that definitely delivered. I was wanting to see how it fit in. I wanted more stories within this timeline. And it sounds like, from what little information they did reveal or talk about within the movie, it sounds like it is still, it's definitely lined up after Bumblebee. Bumblebee took place in 1987, Earth time. And this movie was 1994, so about 7 years later. And they had a small reference to, it wasn't even like a direct reference, so maybe they could change it. But what I got, it was a sequel to Bumblebee, a loose sequel. Is that kind of what you were thinking, or am I off on that?
Yeah, I think, loose is probably a good word, because you could watch this movie without having seen Bumblebee, and you would be totally fine. You wouldn't be lost. That reference, I think the same one you're talking about that I remember, is Optimus Prime talking about how Bumblebee had a good relationship with a human.
Yeah.
And that was okay, I remember that, and that was about it.
Yeah, that's all I got too. And I think that's fine. I mean, I would like more, but as long as that holds true and they don't try to change the history, I'm okay with that. But I'm still waiting for not only Bumblebee, but this movie and any subsequent movies, because it sounds like there's going to be more after this, which I hope there is. How does it line up with the Michael Bay movies that, Transformers came out in 2007, and then there was 4 more after that before they went back to Bumblebee. So do they line up? From what you're seeing now currently, Kimball, what do you think? Is there a way to still tie them together, or are they just kind of off doing whatever works, doing their own thing?
Yeah, I think they do have a chance to tie it together. It would be, if they did, then it wouldn't be that bad, because these movies don't have the best of plot holes to begin with. And so fitting them together would continue their plot hole adventure that they like to have. So it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think they still can fit it in, but from what I'm reading with reviews and other articles, it seems like they're going in a different direction, but they're not totally axing Michael Bay's movies. So it's kind of up to your interpretation. If you want it to be in the same universe, it can be loosely, but I think ultimately this is kind of a reboot. That's how it seems to me.
Yeah. I'm kind of getting that impression, but I'm still holding out hope. And it's not even I want to see, I just want, I think we may have talked about it on the podcast earlier. We have done previous podcasts about the Transformers. This is our first video podcast, as a side note, and that'll be on YouTube. We've done 3 other audio podcasts, audio only podcasts that are on iTunes and your, podcast app of choice. We've done Bumblebee, the original Transformers, and then the second one, Dark of the Moon. So
No, Revenge of the Fallen.
Revenge of the Fallen, yeah. We were going to do, the next one up was Dark of the Moon that we haven't got to. So you can go back and listen to those, but this will be our first audio or video podcast, sorry. And, but I think we have talked about how the last movie ended on hey, there's more to come, and we haven't gotten that yet. So if they were to do another movie, even just one more movie, and just wrap up the Michael Bay universe, I would be fine. I wouldn't care what direction this new movie goes. I kind of just want some closure to the last movies that we.
Yeah, you're talking about the last night, right?
Right.
Yeah, they left us on the biggest cliffhanger, and it's like that feeling, where you hold in a sneeze and it doesn't come, and you're just like, oh, you need it to come out, and that's how it is for me with that series. Like it was. Unicron was coming out of the earth, and I wanted so badly to see where it was going to go, and
so definitely more story in that timeline. And when Unicron is introduced in this film, and that's one of the things that I really liked about it, is we finally got to see Unicron. So I was hoping there would be like some sequence that kind of shows us that Unicron gets buried on the earth like we saw at the end of the last night. But that didn't happen.
if that did happen, then that would be a very smooth transition.
I know, yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah. The opportunity was there, but didn't happen. So anyway, let's get into it. Those are our initial thoughts. So this is the 7th film in the franchise so far, set after Bumblebee, like we talked about 7 years later. And the premise is the homeworld of the Maximals is an advanced race of Cybertronians with beast modes. So we don't have the cars and the Earth vehicles. They're just beasts like apes and cheetahs and birds and things like that. So they come under attack from the planet-eating dark god Unicron and his heralds, his army, the Terrorcons, and an army of Predacon scorpions led by Scourge seek to obtain for their master the Maximals' greatest piece of technology, the Transwarp Key. And this is something we haven't seen before, correct?
Yeah,
at least in the movies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The Terrorcons, the Predacons, all these Transformers, everything has never been introduced yet. So it's cool because we get a fresh look on these new Transformers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they're trying to get it, and the Maximal leader sacrifices himself to allow the other Maximals to escape, which allows Optimus Primal, a Maximal, to use the key, and they escape, and they end up, of course, on Earth. And that's where the story ends up, is on Earth, obviously. Is there a reason why Earth is always involved in these Transformer takeover? Like the Decepticons were trying to take over Earth. Now it's these Terrorcons and Unicron. Like, is that just a vehicle, or like, is there a reason that this keeps happening? Do we know?
I doubt they'll ever say the reason why. I mean, maybe they just like humans. There's always going to be just a human element to it, and we're a unique species. But something to note: that scene that you were describing takes place in the future. So we got that because Optimus Primal is named after Optimus Prime. From many years before. Yeah,
that's an interesting twist. So the Transwarp Key not only transports people or Transformers to another galaxy, but also can move through time. So that's
like the space and time stone mixed into one.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So then the story picks up many years because they arrive way into the past. They came from the future. Now they're way in the past of Earth time, at least. And then in 1994, Brooklyn, Noah Diaz, our main character, is trying to find a job. He can't get a job for some reason. And so he has a friend who convinces him to steal a Porsche 911. ends up being a Transformer Mirage, an Autobot. And so from there, the Transformers are introduced to the humans, and also the Transwarp Key is discovered by Elena Wallace, and that sends out a signal to the Terrorcons to come to Earth and get the key. So that's where the movie starts. That's where the main story are. So as far as setting up this story, the Transwarp Key is the MacGuffin. It's actually split in half. So there's a piece that though Elena finds, but then there's another piece that's hidden. And then, I don't know, what do you think about kind of this setup for the Transwarp Key and the Autobots showing up and then the Terrorcons showing up later? Did it work for you? Was it a good setup?
I mean, it's okay. It wasn't anything like that much different from the Michael Bay films, to be honest. It just seemed like, okay, this is kind of a similar storyline we got going here.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't too unique to me, like the Allspark before. It's just like another object, Transformers coming and things like that. So, but it's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You got to meet the new main character somehow, and you got to introduce some type of event that's happening.
All right. Yeah. It's pretty cool that they have all these really neat devices, right? The Allspark and this thing, and then I think what was some of the other ones?
The Matrix of Leadership.
Yeah.
From Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got cool devices in this universe.
Yeah, and they keep losing them.
Yeah.
And they end up on Earth somehow every time. That'd be cool if they do reveal, like, why is Earth so, like, why does everything happen on Earth? Like, is there some energy source that draws everything there? I mean, I guess you had every movie they show like a history moment, right? Kind of like explaining how something happened. And this one was actually pretty interesting and a little bit different in the sense that it was in the future, but then it went back to the past even further. Mm-hmm. But there was the one episode, I think it was the first Mark Wahlberg movie where, or maybe it was The Last Night, where they come in before Earth is habitated, and what do they do with the Green Valley, and they populate Earth, right, with Transformers? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you mean when they had those dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Yeah, they spread this stuff on it and it consumed all the dinosaurs, but then that had nothing to do with the Transformer dinosaurs later, which was another frustrating plot hole. But yeah, there was that too.
Wasn't it some source of energy that they were using?
You mean Transformium? I think.
Yeah, that's what Transformium.
Yeah.
That
cool name.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it's something like that. That's where I'm going with this. Like the Transformium, like that draws them there, or I don't know, some earth mineral, or I don't know. It would just be really cool that they finally revealed, well, this is why they always end up on Earth. This is why the Transformers are always fighting over Earth and things like that. But it would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Like, if you remember from when, what's the main bad guy's name? I want to say Scarface, but that's not it. It's
Scourge.
Scourge, that's it. He when he's attacking the Maximals world, there's like all that blue light kind of in the rocks and stuff, and that's key to the storyline. We'll find out later, but if Earth was like really rich in that mineral, then I could see, okay, there's that draw, because maybe that gives some type of life to either the Transformers or to these objects that keep appearing.
Yeah, that's a good theory there. I like that. Was it Energon that?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I would like that if that's what ended up happening. So cool. So we were introduced to Noah Diaz when he steals the Porsche, which ends up being Mirage. And it's interesting that we finally get to see Mirage in action as a main character. He's always been Optimus's like right-hand man, or one of the top guys, top Transformers. But he hasn't had a role, like a significant role in a Transformers movie till this one. So I kind of like that. And I did like his abilities, being able to kind of create a mirage of himself to distract people. We saw that in the beginning when the cops were chasing him. He sent mirages out to them so they would get just distracted and confused. So, but yeah, Noah Diaz, he meets Mirage, and then the other Autobots roll in, Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and RC. I think was it just those three that ended up coming?
Yeah.
So there was 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't see Mirage and Bumblebee. We saw RC and Bumblebee. And who else was there? Wheeljack.
A little bit of Optimus Prime.
Saw Optimus Prime. But so there is some crossover with the Transformer characters, but we're still being introduced to new ones, which I always found interesting. It's like we don't see them in one movie, but then there's new ones in the next, which I think story-wise that works great. But how do you kind of explain that away? Oh, they just weren't involved in the last climactic battle. They were just hiding out and didn't want to join the battle. But here they're here now, so I don't know. That just seems
there's still some Transformers that weren't in this movie that were in the last movie, and what were they doing this whole time? Because I think there were 7 that came to Earth at the end of Bumblebee, and this one we didn't have 7 Transformers. So what were they doing?
Yeah. So that'd be cool. Another thing they can explain in the next movie. So. But so he meets them, and Optimus. It's interesting that Optimus is not interested in working with the humans at this point, which I think is good because then it allows for some character development, if that's possible with a robot. But he ends up changing his mind later on, and so I think that was a pretty cool. I was kind of surprised by it at first. I was like, wait a minute, Optimus is the good guy. He wants to help Earth, but here he's not having. He's like, no, we're going to take care of it ourselves. What did you find that interesting, or were you okay with it? So like, what was your take on that? His take?
Yeah, he was. He wasn't trusting of the humans, but we don't really know why exactly because. In the last movie, there's no conflict between him and a human where he gets jaded by them.
Yeah, with Charlie.
So, it's like, what's his reasoning? Why isn't he trusting? Why was Mirage so trusting of humans? We don't really know. I guess it's just personality type.
Yeah.
But it's certainly different from the Michael Bay films, although he was a little hesitant in the beginning, but to help out Sam Witwicky, although it seemed like he was, more willing to help the humans the last time than this time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in the Michael Bay movies, after that initial moment, it's like he's way over invested in the humans. Like, and Sam, there's points where Sam's like, I'm done. I don't want to be involved. But he's like, no, you have to help us. So it's like 180 at this point.
Yeah, you're right. And it takes almost this whole film before he's finally converted to helping the humans. Like it's like night and day difference, his willingness.
Yeah, but I liked it because he's not just one dimensional. He has some character flaws, and then they get fixed, I guess you could say. So, then we also meet Elena Wallace, who's working in a laboratory, or not necessarily a laboratory, but a museum, and they discover an artifact, and within the artifact is half of the Transwarp Key. And once she accidentally activates that's when the action starts. The Autobots respond, and they're closer, so they get there first with Noah. And Noah gets in and confronts Elena, and Elena doesn't know who he is. There's kind of a little fist to cuff, I guess. She hits him, and he's like, what do you do that for? And then the bad guys show up, and she's, they're on the run, trying to get away from the bad guys, the Terrorcons are trying to kill him. And then they subsequently meet up with the Autobots and are able to join up with them, but the Transwarp Key is stolen. So I did think it looked a little different, but then when they said, oh, it's only half of it, I was like, oh, okay, that's good, because otherwise the bad guys win.
It was missing some of it.
Yeah. So I did like that battle that they had. It kind of showed Optimus isn't as powerful as we see him later on, which makes sense, right? But he got his trash handed to him, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a little disappointing. Like, this is the hero. This is the best of the Transformers, and like, yeah, you're right. He just wasn't. He wasn't competing at all.
Yeah, Scourge was handling him pretty well.
And he even says it. He says, how does it feel to meet someone, or this is what happens when an inferior, something like that. It was a funny line that Scourge said to Optimus, and it's like he was totally right. Like, he had the battle the whole time, the upper hand.
Yeah. So, they get the Transwarp Key, but then they realize it's only half of it, and Elena is able to figure out. She had figured out that it would be, and the other half might be in Peru. So then they call in a new Transformer, Stratosphere, and this I was at first I was like, oh cool, it's that one guy from the old airplane from the other movie.
That's
but it's
what I
not.
thought too at first.
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. It was a new airplane.
Yeah, they're not the same.
Yeah. So this guy is Stratosphere. Do you remember what the other guy's name was?
No, you mean the one from Revenge of the Fallen?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that. That would have been cool. They could have. This is how another way they could have tied in the Michael Bay films.
Exactly. Yep. So let me look that up real quick. So now, what did you think of this design or this new character of Stratosphere?
Well, I don't know why he was so beat up.
Yeah.
His plane was falling apart. Like, they could have given him a bit of backstory. Like, I think he should have been with the group from the beginning. That would have been cool, and at least we could have got some character development instead of him just flying in and, oh, hey, we got a convenient ride to Peru now. Like, okay, what's the story though?
Yeah. Yeah, and he was, like you said, he's all beat up, but so is this other one from the previous movie. So again, pretty much the same character, right?
Yeah.
And RC is in those Michael Bay movies as well.
Yeah, so we do have some sharing of the characters in the two movies, and it seems like they're giving a lot of interpretation to the audience. Okay, is it in the same universe or is it not? Because it can go both ways, but I really wish they would have made this airplane transformer the same one as Michael Bay's, because this is the guy that helps give his parts to Optimus Prime to bring him back to life, because that's the one when he dies.
Yeah.
And and now we kind of see a backstory. Okay, why did he do that? Well, he helped out in this previous movie. It would have just meshed pretty well.
Yeah.
With character development between the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I'm not finding it on this list for some reason. But yeah, it would have been a great way to tie in that whole thing, but it didn't happen. So, then they go to Peru and they meet up with another Autobot, Wheeljack. And there's a kind of a line there where Noah Diaz tries to talk to him in Spanish, and he's like, "What do you mean? What's with the accent? Are you racist?" Or I don't know. It was humorous, but it was a little weird at the same time. I don't know. What'd you think of the introduction of Wheeljack?
I thought it was funny that he just said, like, how's it racist? He's a transformer.
Yeah, that's true. He did have that come back. So as far as Wheeljack, I liked him. He's the old beat up VW bus, which is I kind of like that. I don't think we'd really seen that before as far as a VW bus, but I liked him as a character, as a transformer that was helping him out. But again, why is he in Peru? I guess we find out later, but just another guy we hadn't seen before. So
yeah.
But and this is an odd point. I mean, I liked the idea of going to a hidden temple, kind of Indiana Jones-esque, right? Mm-hmm. And Noah and Elena figure out where it is, mostly Elena, and they go down there. And I thought there was going to be like what they needed, but it wasn't there anymore. But it's just interesting that they have this side trip into this cool place and spend time there, and then it's not even like the other half of the transwarp key isn't there. So I don't know. Just kind of sat off. It was like off with for me. I don't know. What did you think of this hidden underground temple?
Yeah, you're right. It seemed like it was just overplayed, and then there was just nothing there. It was just empty, literally empty, because there was no key inside. And I think it just felt like it was forced. They just wanted to show a cool location because that's what you do with these transfer movies, like they did over, in Egypt or over in Jordan in the previous movies. You got to have these cool locations, so they picked one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Machu Picchu. Let's go to these ancient Indian ruins, but it's not there. Well, that seemed anticlimactic. So
yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Anticlimactic. What's the point? And then, but that leads them to the Maximals that are still in hiding in Peru, and we meet Optimus Primal here on Earth. At least the new Transformers do. And what did you think of their introduction? I think this is the first we start to spend more. We were introduced, but now we're like spending more time with them, and we see them all. What did you think of these new guys?
Well, it kind of showed like their power. Like they overtook all the Autobots. Like there's the Cougar one. He was like on top of Mirage, just kind of pressing him down. Mm-hmm. And so you just see, wow, these Maximals. I always want to call them Primals. These Maximals are a lot stronger than the Autobots. It's going to be good for when they face, the bad guys at the end of the movie. So I thought that was a cool introduction.
Yeah, and I'd seen these representations of these guys in the animated form and things like that throughout the years, and I always wondered who are those guys and what's their deal. So it was really cool to see them in live action format, at least CGI action, and it was cool that they were. I liked the storyline where they were much older and they were from the future, and so they had more experience. They had fought these Terrorcons before, so they knew how they worked and they could help the Autobots out. It was just a really interesting concept. That's how they tied those story elements in together. So I liked them, and it kind of gives Optimus a mentor, right? Because he's always been top dog in the movies, but here we have a reversal where he's not the strongest, obviously, because Scourge handles him, and then Optimus Primal is able to mentor him a little bit, I would imagine.
Which is ironic because Optimus Primal is named after him.
Yeah.
So like, how does that work? He's like the mentor's becoming the mentee now.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember. Did Optimus? He didn't recognize him, right? Because Did Primal recognize him though? I guess.
Yeah, Optimus wouldn't recognize him because he's way out into the future. Wouldn't know anything about him.
Yeah. So would they have met in the future before the Maximals go back in time? Had they met at that point? Or is this the only time they meet? Is in this setting?
I think it's the only time. That's how the movie kind of depicted it. I think it would have been cool if there was a bit of a scuffle and they're fighting each other instead of it just being like meeting. Oh, who are you? And that's like at least fight a little bit.
Yeah,
amongst each other.
Yeah, the others kind of did a little bit. They wrestled at least. But they didn't. So the one bird creature, Arizor, is that how you say it?
Air Razor, I think. I thought it was.
Yeah. She gets infected during one of the fights they have with the Terrorcons. She gets infected with Scourge's. He shoots something at her and it attaches to her and starts to infect her to change her into a Terrorcon. Mm-hmm. So she eventually gives them up unwittingly, and the Terrorcons find out where they are, and I guess the Maximals have been staying in that hidden valley with those Peruvians since they got there. That's kind of what I got from that.
thousands of years.
So we have Maximus or Optimus Primal working with the humans, trusting the humans, depending on the humans, and then you have Optimus Prime, who's distrustful of the humans. And do you think he kind of sees? I'm pretty sure we saw that. Like he recognized, okay, maybe these guys aren't so bad after all. It seemed to be.
I think that definitely played a role in converting Optimus Prime's mindset of the humans. He saw Optimus Primal trusting the humans, and that helped him out to be a little more trusting.
Yeah, and I think that was he opened the door for Prime to start trusting Noah. Noah had to start trusting them, so they kind of had a come to Jesus moment where they started to trust each other. But I don't think that would have happened if Primal wouldn't have been trusting of the humans previously, and Optimus Prime sees that. So, yeah, that was a good moment. I think that's good storytelling in my mind. Good character development again for these guys who are not human. But I liked it. Yeah. So they are able to come in. The Terrorcons again get the other half of the key, and end up joining them and contact Unicron, who's been there in the background waiting for. Well, this was interesting, right? So the Unicron at the beginning of the movie, Unicron tells Scourge, "Hey, you got to go track these guys down and get the key and bring it back to me." But they went back in time. So how did the Terrorcons and Scourge and all his group go back? Did they go? They obviously went back in time as well.
Well, how did they do that? That's a huge plot.
Yeah, they needed to explain that. And so then, okay, so let's say they do explain it. they get the key, and they kind of had that alternate reality, the AI thing where he was there on Earth, but he was like the environment changed around him, and then he was talking with Unicron. So was that time travel, or what was that? Where was Unicron?
They should have explained that better. It's just like, okay, what was he using at least?
Yeah,
was he using the key? Because he had half the key, and then he went and delivered it up to Unicron. But how was he able to do that?
Yeah. And where is Unicron throughout this whole thing? Is he in another dimension, another part of the galaxy, universe, whatever it is? Like, where is he? Where is he hanging out? And how did he? So they send him back in time. They get the key. Do they go back forward in time to give it to him? Or is he just kind of omnipresent all the time? You just got to call him and he's there. And he's like, yes, he knows everything, right? He's like a god. And I think Wikipedia did mention that. Let's see.
Yeah, he is a god. Him and his brother or sibling, which we're going to be introduced in the next films, I believe.
Oh.
And it's going to be probably a huge epic battle, at least I hope so, or we'll be let down again. Yeah, he's part of like the creation of this universe, or at least the start of it. He represents the evil of it, and his brother, who we haven't met yet, represents the good.
Okay.
His brother, I think his name is Primal. I think that might be it. That's
Prime?
where Optimus Prime comes from. That's like his ancestor.
Okay, so the Primes descend from this guy, the Prime.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Where did I see that? When I was reading the intro, it said Unicron was a dark god. Is that what I read?
Yes.
The planet-eating dark god Unicron. Okay. So maybe he is ever, always present, all-knowing. He can be anywhere he wants, at any time, any place.
Then why does he need the key?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. They got to explain that. Hopefully they'll get to that in the next movie. Or maybe they did, and there's deleted scenes or something. So maybe
I don't like when they delete important scenes like that. That's crucial to the storyline.
Exactly. It's not good. So anyway, they deliver the key to Unicron wherever and whenever he is. And he starts to enter the Earth's atmosphere. And
Through
then
this
the
portal. It's
yeah.
kind of like in Avengers
Mhm.
when you got dang, I can't remember first Avengers when Loki opens up the portal and they're coming through
Mhm.
the Chitauri.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of had that vibe too. And they send Scorponok through another, which I did like that because that kind of explains where Scorponok came from in the first one. But maybe Unicron's in a different dimension, and that's why he needs to get out of that dimension, and he can only do that through the Transwarp Key. Because if he was in the universe, he would be able to just go there without having a portal, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you'd think so. But then, like, that's where the Terrorcons were. They were all in the same universe because they were eating up the Maximals planet in the beginning. So
Yeah.
at one point, they're in the same universe, they're in the same time, but now they're not because the Terracons are now in Earth's universe and Earth's time. How did they do that without the key? It's a huge plot hole. And somehow Unicron isn't able to travel like they did. Maybe because he's so big.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we'll have to do some research on that. Maybe it's tied into the comics or the previous animated series somehow, or literature. I don't know. We'll have to figure it, because it seems like they would have that mapped out, or there would be some background to that. Like, who is Unicron? Where is he hanging out? What's his deal? That whole thing. I don't know. It seems like to figure that out, because we have a lot of questions about this Unicron guy. We know who he is as far as like he's a dark god and all that. He's the big bad, but we don't know much else about him. So anyways, so there's the big battle there at the end with the humans, the Autobots versus the Terracons and everybody. So what did you think of this? We've seen a lot of great final battles in the Michael Bay movies. Bumblebee, not so much. It was fine, but it did kind of rise to that level of Michael Bay's final battles. I don't think it was quite there yet, but it was getting there. At least that's my opinion. What did you think of this final showdown between Scourge and Prime and everybody?
The difference between this one and the Michael Bay is it didn't happen like centrally in a city. So you didn't get all the city destruction like we love, like a whole building getting eaten by a transformer, like I think that was in the Fallen or Dark of the Moon. But this one was just in an open field, basically in mountains. There's not a pyramid getting eaten by the sun, so that was a difference. But as far as like fighting and in terms of action, the action was good. I think it could have been better. For me, it felt a little bit lacking in that department, but it's still fun seeing the Transformers blow each other up.
Yeah. And the humans had a part to play. Noah, so Mirage takes some damage, and he ends up creating a suit, an Autobot suit around Noah so that Noah can fight. And we haven't seen that before. That's a new concept for the movies.
Yeah, they were even kind of foreshadowing it because Mirage gave Noah like a part of a glove, like a gauntlet, to fire off guns. And I thought that was cool. I'm like, wow, that they should do that more often to the humans. Give them some of their weapons, and they can now fight a little bit alongside them.
Yeah, Sam could have used that when Megatron was chasing him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. What did you think of this union of human and Autobots in what we saw there at the end?
I thought it was great. I really liked it. He's basically turned into Iron Man now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I did like it, but at the same time, I was like, how does he know how to use it so well? Like,
yeah, there's that part. Like, where's the learning curve? Like, it just fit naturally. And then we don't know, like, where is Mirage? Like, he wasn't talking at all when he was wearing that armor. Where was his essence in the car? Was it infused in Nova? We don't know much about that.
Yeah, and I think they could have done it a little bit better where Mirage is like, okay, now do this. Now, do that. Yeah. At least in the beginning, so then Noah kind of figures out how to work it, and then he's like, okay, I got it.
Yeah, that would have been much better.
Yeah. If it would have been like, you know, in the Iron Man suit, there's what's his name? Jarvis is there kind of talking to Tony and the subsequent AIs that are there. So something like that, I don't know. That's because if you're thinking about how is that happening during the movie, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
It's kind of you're getting out of the show, the story. But anyways, it was a cool effect and it worked, right? But Prime and Scourge have their final showdown, and Prime is able to defeat him. I did like that part of it. Kind of shows.
That's. I mean, Optimus doesn't get like a sudden burst of strength. It just happens to be the end of the movie. Oh, Optimus has to win. That's cool. But I wish we would have like gotten maybe someone would have helped him out. Like Optimus can't just magically get stronger like that just because he wants to.
Yeah. He leveled up. He got some XP.
Yeah.
It's better now. But yeah, I kind of wanted to see more of Scourge, right? Like how what's a Starscream kind of flew off there at the end of the first Transformers and then came back later. I kind of wanted to see something like that. Yeah, Megatron. And they just come back later stronger and more determined to defeat Prime. Kind of wanted to see something like that with him. Scourge was really cool. I liked how he defeat his enemies and they kind of tear off their symbol and weld it to his shoulder. He was a good Transformer for me. I liked him.
Yeah, they should have kept him around, but like they always did with Megatron, he could always come back.
Yeah,
Megatron every single movie.
Yeah,
except for these new ones, so they'll find ways to bring him back, I'm sure.
That's true. They just need a piece of him that survives, like his brain chip or whatever. And then they can rebuild him. But so then they defeat the port. They destroy the. Do they destroy the key? Pretty sure they do. Yeah. Yeah.
Optimus destroys the key, and we thought Optimus was gonna die because he like kind of says a goodbye, and he's like, you don't have to do it, Optimus, and he says, yes, I do. So we see this turning of he's sacrificing for the humans essentially. We see this character arc, which is cool, but he doesn't die, of course.
Yeah, he can't die.
Yeah, the key does get destroyed.
Yeah. Then their Unicron, it kind of cancels his portal out, so then he leaves, and that's the good guys win, and that's the movie. So overall, I liked it. It is problematic here and there, but overall I liked it. How about you, Kimball? What was your overall feeling of it?
Yeah, it was decent. It had many holes, but that's like all Transformer movies.
It is a Transformer movie.
yeah, you gotta. It's just natural that it comes like that.
Yeah,
but it's being a Transformer movie, it's still good, and because I just really. What draws me into Transformers is just the unique concept of car to robot. I just really like that element to it. It's not, and they're non-human. It's not like we get these superheroes that develop a certain skill, through a superpower or some special ability. It's like, no, this is a different race. We still don't know the origins much. I hope they go into it later, but it's a different race. They're not human, so you can't quite relate to them, but they do have their flaws. So in that sense, you can relate to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just good entertainment, popcorn entertainment overall, typically, right?
Yeah.
So as far as lining up with Bumblebee and the next Michael Bay movies, I think we've kind of talked about that throughout the podcast. It's there, but it's not convincing. So hopefully we'll see that more in the future. Let's talk about the mid-credit scene where Noah goes to apply for another job, and he gets taken to this office and he's talking with a guy, and the guy is an agent for G.I. Joe. And I had heard stuff that they were trying to combine the G.I. Joe Transformers universes, and I was like, oh, okay, how are they going to do that? And as far as I know, and I don't know everything, as far as the comics, if they did that previously in the comics or some other animated series, or if this is the first time they're actually talking about that.
I think they did it. I don't know if it was animated, but I know they did it for toys. And so the reason why they have these merging universes is to sell toys.
Oh yeah.
That's because I think it was like, can't remember which decade it was, but toy sales were down, and in order to crank these up, it's like, all right, well, let's see what happens when the Transformers meet GI Joe, or let's see what happens when Superman meets Iron Man, or whatever it is. Like
Right.
they merge these universes together to sell more toys. So I think with this one, it's our first time seeing it on screen. That's what I'm led to believe.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm intrigued. I kind of want to see where it goes. Do they bring in or at least acknowledge the previous GI Joe movies, the 2 previous ones, or do they reboot it completely? Or
I think it's
what?
going to be a reboot. I don't think they're going to acknowledge it from what I've been reading.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you anticipate we'll see GI Joe in the next Transformers film?
Yeah,
like GI Joe Army?
I think we should.
Mm-hmm.
If not, then it's a wasted mid-credit, which sometimes happens.
Yeah.
I hope we introduce it, because I think it's natural that this movie is going to culminate into something huge, with Unicron still being alive. Hopefully, his brother coming into the picture, and so we need to get this army of GI Joes behind them.
Yeah.
To assist with this battle.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and it would just ramp up interest with the fans, I'm sure. So definitely a good.
Sorry, I was just going to say that I thought this mid-credit scene was going to be the Sector 6 guy.
Sector 7?
Yeah, that's it, Sector 7.
So did I.
Thought, another way to tie it into Michael Bay's films. And
exactly.
That would be cool. If it did do that, I think it would be cool only for tying in purposes, but I like that they're going this new direction for G.I. Joe, because otherwise they'd be painting themselves in a corner.
That's
you can't
true.
do much different with Sector 7, but now that it's G.I. Joe, this opens a whole new world.
Right. Okay. I can get behind that. So let's talk about our favorite moments. For me, we've talked about all of them. So I'll just note them and just acknowledge them. But I really like the beginning when Noah steals Mirage, and then there's the chase after it's doing that from the cops, and how Mirage is able to evade him, and then they meet up with the other Autobots. That's introduction there. I thought that was a pretty fun moment. The end battle sequence was pretty cool. The highlight of the movie, as it should be. The climax of the movie, and then the Maximals, meeting them, new Transformers, new backstory. They explained who they were, where they came from. We got to see them in action. So I'm looking forward to seeing them in the future, because we were introduced to the Dinobots and some of the Constructicons and some of these other cool Decepticons and Transformers from other films, but then we never see them again. And so I want to see that with these Maximals. I want to see Optimus Primal again and the other guys, and hopefully their story continues. So what were some of your favorite moments?
So my favorite moments were Noah turned into a Transformer. That was the coolest thing. And I like Mirage's powers of duplication, because that made him really stand out as a Transformer. No other Transformer has this unique power. They all transform, they all got cool guns, but this is like he's actually doing something different, a different skill or ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish they used it a little bit more. He used it, in his fight at the end, but it just seemed like it was more for show. It was kind of a gimmick. It didn't really help him defeat Scourge a whole lot. But he did hold his own against the Battle of Scourge pretty well, so that puts him on par with Optimus.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my last top 3 moment, which we didn't talk about, was Bumblebee coming back to life.
It's true.
In the trailer, we saw that he died, so obviously, okay, that's not going to last, because they're not just going to show a death in the trailer.
Yeah.
It was very similar to Optimus Prime dying in Revenge of the Fallen. That happened in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
He's pretty much gone the rest of the movie until the very end. Something brings him back to life.
Yeah.
But I like that he came from the sky and was kind of he looked like a bee, and he was just going.
Yeah, to the LL Cool J, "Don't Call It a Comeback" song. That was pretty cool. So that coincidentally is my least favorite, one of my least favorite moments, in the sense that not that he came back, but that he died and was gone for half the movie. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, I like Bumblebee. Where is he? And so I wanted to
Yeah.
see more of him, I guess. So there's that one, and then the Underground Temple, which we've talked about, in the sense that it was anticlimactic, like you had mentioned, and I wanted it to be more a part of the story than just, oh, it's not there, let's go somewhere else. Because that was a pretty intriguing concept, and I liked it. I liked the feel of it and how they had to look for it, search for it, find the secret entrance, go down there, and and then it was just like, well, let's go somewhere else now. So in the sense that it wasn't used the best way it could have, I guess, is why it's one of my least favorite moments. And then my last one is, I don't know, just the little brother, Chris Diaz.
You didn't like him? You know, a hope at the end, his nice speech.
Yeah, no. It was just a distraction, right? He was, I get it that he was the motivation for Noah, and you see that at the beginning. But then after that, it's like, well, why is he talking on the walkie-talkie on the other side of the world, telling him?
How do you get that range?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It didn't work for me. Maybe it did for little kids, because I'm pretty sure that's why they did that. But for me, yeah.
Well, for me, I didn't like Optimus in the beginning when they were getting the key with the humans at that museum. Optimus blames the humans for losing the key. That really bothered me. It's like, hey, come on. Why are you going to blame a small, tiny human for losing a key? You could have just done it yourself. Like, he basically just stood back and watched while the Terrorcons picked up the key from the ground. Like, I thought that was annoying to me. Mm-hmm. I wanted more Maximal development. I think we really should have got, maybe 30 minutes of the film dedicated to like showing their life on Earth. Why is it that they transform into animals? We know why the Autobots transform into cars, because that's how they hide amongst the humans. But what's their purpose for turning into animals and being in that form? Like, I really wish we would have got more scenes of their life on Earth or on their world before Unicron came and ate it up. That would have been good development. We would have known the Maximals a little more, like that leader who sacrificed himself at the beginning. Like, let's see more development between him and Optimus Primal, because that was like his mentor in a sense. I don't even know if they were related. They're both gorilla shaped, so I think they could have been related.
Maybe, yeah.
I just wanted more development with that. And then my last complaint, I felt like this is a little too much like Michael Bay's movies with the storyline, some of the humor. It just seemed a little too much like it, and I wanted it to be different than Michael Bay's.
Yeah.
It just felt like a rehash of him.
Yeah, and it wasn't, it was like Michael Bay's A level, and this was kind of B level.
Yes.
Right? As far as that comparison goes. And yeah, if you're going to hire a new director, go a different direction, do it differently. Bumblebee was different in a lot of ways, for better or worse. And so I think, that would have been, I like that. I think I can agree with that for sure. So yeah, that's kind of the overview of Rise of the Beast. Overall, I did like it. Like I said, I think I'd give it an 8, maybe 7.75. I don't want to dip down into the 7s, but because it's Transformers, but it's around that level for me. 7.8, 7.9, 8 maybe.
You're being generous. I gave it a 7.
I am. I am being generous because there's parts I really liked, and then other parts was like, So
yeah, it's still Transformers, which does boost it a bunch just because of the unique concept. But we really need to get better writers and directors in with the story. Like Bumblebee, that was very fresh, very different than all the rest of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. 7.5. So there was one line that I really liked where towards the end, when Optimus Prime kind of loosens up around the humans and kind of trusts them a little bit more, he does say there's something about the humans that there's more than meets the eye.
Yeah,
right?
That's the catchphrase.
And it's like, huh. So that's cool because it's always been the Transformers are more than meets the eye, and he's saying it's the humans are more
Yeah,
than meets the eye. That's
yeah,
a
that was cool.
good twist there. So, and it fit for the story and his character. So he learned to trust them more. So it was good. All right, so that's our review of Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. Hopefully, we'll be doing another one with the sequel to this, and there is going to be an animated movie, or I don't know what format it's going to be in, if it's like Netflix or an actual theatrical release or what. But I'm sure we'll cover that as well, review that, talk about it, and see how it, because it is the origins of Transformers. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think that we might find Unicron's brother, that Primal, I believe is his name. I'm hoping it'll be like that, and I believe it should fit into this universe. I don't think it's going to be a standalone solo film. I believe it's going to fit into it.
Okay, that'd be cool. So yeah, stay tuned for that after those movies come out. We want to thank you guys for joining us here on the Credible Nerds podcast, More Than Meets the Eye, Transformers edition. Good to have you back on the podcast, Kimball, talking Transformers. And any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I guess Autobots roll out.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.